Hey you guys, and welcome back to the Pseudo Doctor. It's been quite a while that many of you have been asking and commenting on my videos, asking me, is it worth doing a PhD? Is it worth doing a PhD from India? PhD के बाद jobs का क्या scope होता है? Some of you have written that XYZ organization का नाम और यहाँ पे jobs में कुछ नहीं होता है या private sector में इतनी jobs नहीं है, academics का process बहुत ही tough है and things like that. So I thought to make a video to answer all of these questions, and this right here is that video. So let's address the elephant in the room first. जो आपका सबसे बड़ा question है कि is it worth doing a PhD and is it worth doing a PhD from India? इसका आंसर बहुत ही सब्जेक्टिव और इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक है. आप PhD क्यों करना चाहते हो इज़ द आंसर फॉर वेदर इट्स वर्थ डूइंग और नॉट. अगर आपके पास लाइफ में फ़िलहाल कुछ भी चल नहीं रहा है एंड जस्ट टू हैव समथिंग टू डू, आप PhD करना चाहते हो, इट वोंट बी वर्थ योर टाइम. अगर आप सच में रिसर्च के लिए पैशनेट हो, किसी पर्टिकुलर सब्जेक्ट के लिए, किसी पर्टिकुलर फील्ड के लिए पैशनेट हो या किसी पर्टिकुलर कॉज के लिए पैशनेट हो, देन डूइंग अ PhD वुड बी वर्थ इट. तो ये बहुत ही फिलोसफिकल आंसर है. प्रैक्टिकल टर्म्स में you'll find so many people who have done a PhD and are not happy, did not find a job that they like, or it took them after PhD 3 to 4 to 5 years to find what actually they want to do. And if all of that scares you, or if all of that makes it sound not worthwhile, then it's not for you, or it's not something that you'll find worth in. Then the second part of this question कि PhD इंडिया से करना कितने फ़ायदेमंद या नुकसानदायक है, again it depends on what situation you are in, what is the flexibility and the amount of financial support that you have. क्या आप abroad से जाके PhD कर सकते हो and it works well for you, आप एक student loan ले सकते हो, or maybe you find a completely funded position, For me, मैंने इंडिया से PhD की because it was suiting my financial condition well at that time. And then I got into the Indian Institute of Science, which is the best research institute in the country. And I wanted to stay close to my family and be available. And unfortunately or fortunately, COVID happened and I realized this fact even more strongly, that I want to be close to the people that I love. So it worked out really well for me. If you're someone who wants to explore the world, who wants to, obviously if you go abroad, the amount of exposure you will have and the amount of development that you will have will be more, simply because of the kind of opportunities you'll get. Again, it will depend on the place you go, but keeping those minimum factors fulfilled, it will be better if you can go to abroad and do a PhD, because it will just give you a lot of more exposure and fun. But it doesn't mean कि इंडिया से करना worthwhile नहीं है. Pick the right institute, pick the right problem, and I think it will work for you. It has worked for many Indians who have done a PhD from India. ठीक है, so now let's get to the point where we talk about the job opportunities after a PhD. एक वीडियो में मैंने पहले भी, और आई थिंक एक से ज़्यादा वीडियो में मैंने ये डिस्क्राइब किया है कि इट इज़ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट बाय द एंड ऑफ योर सेकेंड ईयर और अर्ली थर्ड ईयर you should know whether you want to get into academics or whether you want to get into industry, because the amount of preparation required, the kind of preparation required, and the expectations of the recruiters for both the roles is very different. तो उसी तरह से तैयारी करनी पड़ेगी for the remaining course of your PhD. This video is going to be about industrial jobs, so I'm not going to focus on academics. That will be a separate video. In industrial positions, it's very important कि आप third, fourth year में you start looking at different companies that are in your work area. So many times what can happen is that you might be working in a field or working on a problem which is very new, और उस field से related इतनी companies ही ना हो आपके country में. Something that really happened with me. I was working on nucleic acid based biosensors. There are different videos about my research on the channel, so you can go and watch them. And when I started applying for companies or looking for companies, I learned कि इतनी सारी इस field की companies ही इंडिया में नहीं है. They are at limited locations and most of them are startups, and it depends on what phase of your life you're in to take that startup risk. So all of these factors mattered for me, and it took me a while to sort of finalize where will I go after my PhD, and the kind of switch that I made from being a diagnostics person and molecular biology person to now working in pharmaceuticals. So it's very important. Third year, fourth year में आप अपनी field की companies explore करना शुरू करें. Get in touch with people on LinkedIn and other platforms who are from those companies. Start building that network, guys. And without that network, it's going to be very difficult to land an off-campus job after a PhD, because it will be only these connections and people who will refer you to their companies, who will tell you if a role is coming up, who will let you know what are the kind of skill sets you need to build to apply for a particular role. So start building that network early on and start looking for companies in your domain. Campus placements are another option through which you can find jobs after your PhD. That is where I found the current role that I'm in at Dr. Reddy's, which is a pharma company. अगर मैं आपके साथ अपनी स्टोरी शेयर करूँ, I started looking for jobs and opportunities in mid 2020. That was the time when we were at home stuck with COVID, and I realized that maybe in a year's time at max I'll be finishing with my PhD, and I need to start to figure out what's next. So I started applying for companies that were coming in campus placement. I started building my network on LinkedIn, started finding a lot of researchers from Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore, ISC Bangalore, and look at where they are right now, to find the kind of roles that I wanted to be in. So I started connecting with them. One unfortunate thing that had happened is उस फेज़ में बहुत सारे कंपनीज ने हायरिंग बिल्कुल ही बंद की हुई थी बिकॉज ऑफ कोविड, एंड देयर वाज नो क्लैरिटी ऑन हायरिंग कब खुलेगी, और मुझे जिस तरह के रोल्स में इंटरेस्ट था वहाँ पे अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ नहीं निकल रही थी. दिस इज़ अनदर बिग प्रॉब्लम फॉर PhDs. After bachelor's or MBA, the number of openings that you have for which you can apply are a hell lot more than after a specialized PhD that you do. That also becomes a roadblock and a boon. So it depends on what phase you're in और आप कितने lucky होते हो कितने जल्दी. So timing is very important. A company having that need and you matching that need is also very important. I have applied to few other companies as well where I didn't get through simply because मेरी profile was not matching to the role, या फिर वो कुछ prior experience मांग रहे थे which a fresh PhD doesn't have. So these are the kind of problems you will face once you start your job search. Another very important tip that I found useful during my job search is कि कई बार हम सोचते हैं कि अगर हम एक फिजिसिस्ट हैं और हम एक पर्टिकुलर न्यूमेरिकल एल्गोरिथम प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व कर रहे हैं, so that is the only domain in which we can apply. But the way you should think about the job recruitment process is that आपने एक पर्टिकुलर सेट ऑफ स्किल्स गेन किए हैं जो अलग अलग प्रोफाइल्स में एप्लीकेबल हो सकते हैं. So just because I was a chemical engineer doing molecular biology and developing diagnostics, I did not limit my job search to diagnostic companies or molecular biology companies, and I extended it to other companies who work with similar skill set. For example, अगर कोई detergents की company है which is making detergents or hygiene products or air purifiers and things like that, वहाँ पे भी वैसे तरह के skills required थे जो मैंने अपने PhD में develop किए हैं, and I made an application there as well. So you have to understand, sit down and list on a piece of paper what are your top 5 skills, and then try to identify which all industries accept those skills or are actively looking for those skills. आप में से बहुत सारे लोगों ने पूछा है पैसा 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 पैसा, that how much salary do PhDs get, and there is no absolute answer to this unfortunately. It depends on many factors. आप कौन सी डोमेन में काम करते हो. जैसे B.Tech के बाद होता है, कंप्यूटर साइंस वाले सबसे ज़्यादा पैसे लेके जाते हैं. It continues in PhD as well. So if you're in electronics and computer science, your numbers will be very different from all the other branches. So that's one thing. Which domain are you from? आपकी टाइमिंग पे बहुत डिपेंड करता है. At what time are you finishing your PhD, and what is the market scenario at that time? What is the requirement of people with skills as yours in the market at that time? आप कैंपस प्लेसमेंट कर रहे हो या ऑफ कैंपस, इस पर भी बहुत डिपेंड करता है. व्हेन इट इज़ कैंपस प्लेसमेंट, द कंपनी कम्स एंड दे थ्रो अ नंबर एंड इट्स फिक्स्ड फॉर एवरीवन दैट्स पिक्ड अप इन दैट राउंड. बट जब आप ऑफ कैंपस पोजीशंस लेते हो, देन यू हैव रूम फॉर नेगोशिएशन एंड यू कैन गिव योर नंबर्स एंड नेगोशिएट विद द रिक्रूटर टू कम टू अ कॉमन ग्राउंड. So these are also factors which impact the number. So I cannot tell you कि PhD के बाद आपकी 50 लाख की जॉब लगेगी या 20 लाख की जॉब लगेगी, because it just doesn't work like that. It depends on the requirement of your skill set, the amount of expertise that you have built. टाइमिंग पे बहुत डिपेंड करता है, डोमेन पे बहुत डिपेंड करता है. But you should know that if you're honest in any career field, right? If you're honest and dedicated with what you're trying to do, eventually you'll find success. So I hope that you find this video useful. My experience gives you some insights into what your job search after your PhD will look like. कौन सी चीज़ें आप कर सकते हो to stay on track. और I think the last but the most important tip is going to be that you have to be super patient. 1 महीने 2 महीने में काम नहीं होने वाला है, और I mean you will be lucky if that works for you. But even if you're finding a postdoc, prepping for an academic position, yeah, industrial job, it's going to take you months. From my experience and experiences of my peers, आई हैव पीयर्स जिन्होंने मेरे साथ ही ग्रेजुएट किया था एंड दे आर स्टिल फाइंडिंग व्हाट दे वांट टू डू एंड फाइंडिंग दैट परफेक्ट मैच. मुझे भी अराउंड 1 साल का टाइम लगा था. So it's not gonna be a quick fix, and so be prepared for that mentally, and look forward to it rather than being disappointed by it. Take care, and I'll see you soon. Bye bye.